Good morning. Welcome to today's webinar. Today we have Noel Wellman, and we're going to see Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central Setup Inventory Replenishment. The agenda for today is Setup Requisition Management in Business Central, understand the difference between the Requisition Worksheet and the Planning Worksheet, enter lines manually in the Requisition Worksheet, set up an item vendor catalog, and create a purchase order from Requisition Worksheet. Some Optimus news and updates. Optimus Business Transformation has been awarded an gold level partner recognition with LS Retail for 2022 and 2023. We are now in both Bogota and Cali in Colombia, and we open a new office on the 5th floor of the World Trade Center in Bogota. The firm now has 3 PhD on staff who works in our data science division. Optimus was awarded the Top 100 Consulting Firm Bar Award for 2022 in North America by Global Insight Publications. And Optimus continued its expansion to include another country in the Americas, Argentina. Some upcoming trainings we have on June 21st, Jet Analytics, Jet Dashboard Builder. On June 23rd, we have Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, Managed Warehouse Processes. And on June 28th, we have Microsoft Dynamics 365 CRM Web App. So if you want to register any of these trainings, please join our website and you can register for free. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to stop sharing and pass it to Noel.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Micah, for the presentation. And let me start sharing my screen. Hey, welcome everybody. How are you today? It's Friday, a good time for a webinar. Normally we have this on Thursday, but now let's just have this. And we have this today, and we are going to talk about some filters for replenishment, right? So we have been working with inventory lately, by the way. The idea then as well is to continue just to finish and show these final parts so you can see how everything works together, right? So today the idea about this is that we need to work regarding replenishment. Yeah, I'm talking about how then what pages we have when we have for us in the supply chain, which pages we have in order to see the results, in order to see what Business Central will be ordering for us. The thing is that here in Business Central, for you to have to understand the idea of the replenishment, we have 2 types of processes, which is the replenishment for manufacturing, okay, and for purchasing. So we're going to check today the first, which is the requisition worksheet for purchases, right? Not yet, or in another session, we are going to see replenishment for the manufacturing module. So to use requisition worksheets, this is the one. Look at this, okay? We must first set up a requisition worksheet template. That will be then the main process, because you might have on the purchasing side items that you will be calling, let's say, recurring items. So we have recurring requisition worksheets as well. So as an example, let's just verify. We can use recurring worksheet templates when you have entries that must be converted to purchase orders repeatedly without a fee or no changes at all in a recurring requisition worksheet. Then you must type entries that will be converted to a recurring basis only once. And that's it. To set up the recurrency worksheet, then we are going to just open the requisition worksheet templates. Let me just show you the idea. This is the requisition worksheet then. Oh, sorry. This is then the batch. Let me open the template. Okay, and by the way, for this, I strongly recommend to visit our training videos before to understand then what the idea of the replenishing basic concepts, that we need to understand, so you can actually just come and verify this without any other doubt, right? So here is planning and requisition worksheet. And then, for instance, I will be creating for the first time what we call a requisition, but recurring requisition worksheet. Let me just add a new code. That will be then the recurring requisition worksheet. Okay, and if you want it, then as well, we just need to include in this checkbox that this is going to be recurring. Okay, so the idea is that this is going to help us to verify all the items, let's say on a weekly basis, and then we're going to use it to start creating all these items that we'll be purchasing, let's say the white t-shirt, the black cell phone, the black shoes, right? Those items are so common, and as well for customers that will be always purchasing the items that you will be referring to, or supplies to your office that you purchase on a weekly basis, or as well for a store, you might need always to have certain items with your capacity in the store, that some shelves will be always with items, okay, inventory levels, full capacity, maybe you want it, use it then for a requisition worksheet. Okay, so that's why I was referring to that there were just intermediate topics referring this specific topic, right? But not all of that we're going to see today require all this previous knowledge. It's just part of it. So the idea is that all of them anyway calculate a plan for us, okay? To calculate a replenishment plan, the program is going to suggest what to purchase, what to assembly, production orders, as I was then just mentioning. But just to have the idea of these pages as well, in Business Central, for those of you, you're going to manage a manufacturing as well, similarly to what I'm going to explain, there exists what we call there's a planning worksheet. Planning refers as well to manufacturing, but it does exactly the same as the requisition worksheet, but this is referring to when you plan your manufacture process, right? And then they have an independent, completely independent page because they have replenishing for their manufacturing process, which is so to speak, almost 100% planified. Otherwise, you cannot even manufacture. You cannot, you know, get rid of those items when you, let's say, create a recipe. You always must have all the items for the recipe, or at least majority of them, right? That's why it has specific special constraints regarding to then matching the requisition to a plan for a process. The requisition worksheet template only is going to work with items that we are going to be purchasing, right? And then we are going to then follow up the demand of sales, so to speak, and we are going to follow inventory levels that you desire to have, and so forth, in order to then create a requisition line. And then how then we work, just to start working with any of them anyway. I'm going to come back to the requisition worksheet, okay? And I'm going to start inputting lines manually so you can see what will be the idea. First, to understand field by field what a replenisher is going to review here. And then, of course, Business Central is going to do automatically for us this process. But let's just start then manually, okay? The idea is that actually, in this requisition worksheet, we can actually manually add items. So you have a call from any manager in any department asking for having some items. He sent you an email, or as well, we have Android apps, so you can deliver that to your teams or your managers in the different departments, so they can ask for items or the requisitions that you are going to receive here in this page as an example, right? But here we are focusing on not on the branches of the functionality, but on the main core, which is a requisition worksheet where we are going to see the items to actually work with. And then we are going to use the requisition worksheets to process inventory items, non-inventory items, service even, right? To calculate the batch job. The batch job is only available for inventory items, okay? If you want to process non-inventory items and services, you must enter lines manually in the requisition worksheets, okay? That will be it. So I have opened this requisition worksheet, okay? And then here I'm going to work with the type. This first column is going to indicate me, okay, which master data you want to use by selecting an option type. Although in the most cases, you will use items in a requisition worksheet, right? But anyway, we as well, guess what? We can ask for GL accounts, right? Yeah, there are certain expenses that your accountants might request that needs to be, so to speak, requested as maybe general expenses for marketing. You are going to be purchasing items that you don't even have in your, and you won't need in your catalog, but you are going to be purchasing office supplies and they are just expenses. So we give the option to as well go and insert this, okay? And then anyway, if I just go and insert typically item as well, if you insert GL, let me just show you. The second field to learn in this requisition worksheet where we receive then suggestions by Business Central of items to replenish, then we have the second column, NO, okay? After choosing the tab, you can enter then item, enter the item or the GL account number. So here are then, if I just selected type item, I'm gonna immediately be able to see in this column actually the item catalog that you might then have created. Okay, look at this. I have my pineapples, strawberry, peaches. Okay, so if somebody asks me in my store pineapples, let's just input that manually, so to speak. So this is actually then what we're gonna be doing manually. And in order as well to learn these columns, then we have the action message. Okay, specifies an action message. We specify to rebalance the demand supply, right? Situation. The following options are maybe changing the quantity, reschedule items. So if you see that something is going to be created for the first time, you just type new, okay? Somebody asks you for something that doesn't even have items, somebody doesn't have pineapples in this case, well, let's just create new, all right? But if you have other purchases maybe that are just around there, just change the quantity and you can just do so, right? But in this case, we're going to need to work with you when we work with manually. The other stages, change quantity, reschedule, these are for the system because the system, the idea of them is that if somebody create another purchase manually, right, we can actually be affected. We can be purchasing more or less without even noticing it, okay? Because we can provide access to a lot of users to create purchases. So how then do we control all the actual replenishment if somebody enter already a purchase for pineapples and not only me? Okay, so then Business Central can verify the entire universe of purchases and it can decide to change the quantity or even cancel a previous manual purchase. Okay, so for example, if you use the replenishment system purchase and in the action message field, you select new like I'm doing, then we can then select carry out action message, okay, to create a new purchase. Let me explain. I want to then manually or indicate the system, help me creating a purchase order faster than creating the actual purchase order manually, right? And so to speak, this will be then the engine that helps me create any requisition. Okay, I just want this product, right? Let's see what indication it has. And look at this, it's giving me already then the actual vendor number, and this vendor has this vendor item number. Okay, so when you enter an item on the requisition line, then Business Central automatically suggests the vendor basically, right? And the vendor item number specifies the vendor item number from the item card basically, because these are just the vendor item number is because we have maybe created a previous negotiation with a specific price or an agreement for the following 3 months to freeze one of the prices, right? At least with this vendor to provide this product. So it's a previous configuration, how then we can easily indicate to Business Central which items are required in my company. And here you can receive as many items as needed from your company, okay? But they are, by the way, just pre-configured. So you can get a special cost, you can get the action message, and from here, look at this. how that we can create a purchase order from this, we can just carry out action messages, okay? If I just click on this one, this is going to immediately create and even print the orders if necessary. So you don't have to input manual orders anymore. That requires some practice because of course we need to learn, first of all, how to create a purchase order manually. Basically, that will be the idea, but with just inserting an item, this has created a purchase order for me. Let's look at this, all right? This is an actual purchase order that was created in the system. So you get the idea what the requisition worksheet does. It's just that. It's not complex at all. It's very easy to use. And look at this. It has given me even my purchase already and the report. Of course, we would then adapt this type of reports to your company with your logo and all of that. So how this and why this is happening? Because we have the chance to create, of course, manual purchase order, the old-fashioned way that has been always used, but as well, if you are working on the supply chain, we understand that for purchasers, we need a tool that helps us working easily with items. So I can see just a list of, first of all, of the items that are required because of demand or manufacturing or whatever, but then understanding how this page works with this simple example helps me understand why is it faster? Why should I maybe work with replenishing instead of having to work? If I created the actual purchase order manually, let me just give you a comparison so you can understand what more or less will be the advantages of this automation, right? It's not fully automated. It's not artificial intelligence creating purchases and supplying everything for you. You need to take decisions, okay? But it's helping us saving time in the manual process of creating this document, okay? The purchase order has a vendor, all the data that is here, okay? And then it has a line of items that we have requested. And then working with this, okay, is anyway easy, but it takes a little bit more, right? If I created this purchase order manually, it's just basically that it takes more steps, okay? Simple as. It's very easy to create a purchase order, but it takes more steps. Now, coming back to the requisition worksheet, the design of this one is then, oops, just verify which items you want and then come and then click on carry out action message, okay? So that will be, then select an item and click new, all right? And that's it. So the thing is that when we work, for instance, as a purchase agents, right? This company is Kronos in the USA, this is my demo, right? We must set up the planning parameters for any given item. So the replenishment system and the reordering policy that we're gonna get can give us then a suggestion, okay? We have spoken in our last webinar a little bit about this inventory planning configurations, all right? So in order to make items to be connected with this requisition worksheet. So on one side, then you get the idea of what this page does, basically, and you see that it's quite simple then. But then what if we have already suggestions, not about only the person who calls me, I need this or that item immediately tomorrow, whatever. So you input then the information here. Then as well, we can pre-configure inventory levels, all right? Any given item can be then just actually configured to say, I always want to have this inventory level. I have this capacity of my warehouse, and then we configure those. Please check my last webinar where I was speaking about the calculation methods, okay? But since this is a very quite a large topic, right? I actually have different webinars, but actually in the end, simplifying in order to manage a lot of concepts as once, right? Then in this case, I will be just doing the calculation plan, right? Which is the next step, which is going to then insert all the items that will be requested in this company or from this company. Look at this, calculate plan requisition worksheet, okay? And this is then gonna help me then to verify all those parameters. Look at this, respect planning parameters for supply trigger by safety stock. Okay, just as an example of what I'm trying to say, all right? So we have items that actually were configured already to work with inventory levels, maximum quantity, reorder quantity, requisition, that will be then connected to the requisition worksheet. So when I carry out action messages to change the quantity or to work or create new or cancel or create transfer orders or whatever, then I'm going to be able to do so. Okay. So the calculate plan requisition worksheet works like this. For those of you who work for the first time within Business Central, right? The idea of replenishing is that you need to scope a specific day, let's say 2 months or 1 month, 1 week, according to what you will be doing periodically. I would say at least on a weekly basis, at least. I mean, a good parameter is 1 week, and then 2 weeks, 1 month at most. All right. Okay. So I strongly recommend you to then verify that periodically, all right, without exception. Then the replenisher must select always a warehouse, not the entire company to replenish at once, because we might then refer even to items that are linked to a warehouse. Okay. And as well, if you want, we can filter by item or even search for an item by search description. Or even sometimes some of you might be working with, we spoke a little bit last time, that they maybe other, there might be, for instance, give me the replenishment, but with expiration calculation for items that I'm going to need to buy that will expire soon. So expiration calculation can help us even. And then we have other type of, for instance, division code. This is a grouping of my items. I can group my items generally for sales reports or now replenishing. So you can see if I insert division code or item category, which is as well a subdivision of my groups, then item category code or vendor number can be used. I want all these items, right? All the items that I can get from a vendor, from a specific vendor. Give me all the items that I purchased from a specific vendor, and this is going to help us. Then I'm just giving you an example. I want all the actual items in my main warehouse to be replenished, but I'm going to do it category by category. Okay, that could be then an option. For instance, start with electronics, continue with laptops and so forth. And then you might be requiring to actually have divisions of groups. I strongly recommend always, right, to have categories for your items like this. We can configure that in Business Central as well, of course, not only for reports, but as well activities like replenishing. So you see now the usage of this. So if I wanted to then order items, suppliers, pharma, so, or maybe here I have soft drink, supermarket, beer. What do you want? You might have then a team of purchaser, or if you work alone, all right, but then have different responsibility, people helping you, maybe why not with the beer, with this or that group and so forth, so they can get, so when we replenish, we always need to review, we dedicate time, and we need to know about we need to know a lot about the products that we'll be purchasing. That's for sure. I cannot help you with that. The system is going to help you with all the actual filters, references, ways of replenishing, dates, and so forth. All right. But then you need to know your items. So then, in order to calculate then, this is going to check item by item. If I click then OK, and then just basically create the purchase order lines and separate it by document with the specific vendors, like I showed you already. I just inserted one item and immediately all the information was there. So that's exactly is going to happen where I'm now gonna concatenate, right, multiple items with this. Okay, that will be the idea according to the references that you insert in the filters or by warehouse or by vendor number, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so then this is going to be working with all the references that I get in order to have a purchase by items on a so to speak, efficient, right? With an efficient way, with all the algorithms that I'm going to help. Look at this. Somehow, so the system review that I'm going to need more pineapple, but I'm going to create a new purchase order and I'm going to need 60 kilograms. Okay, this is what we saw the the last webinar. The last week we'll review how to configure the quantities to purchase. Okay, strongly recommend you to see this in combination with this one. But here now another example for avocado. The system is telling me, so hey, you need to cancel this purchase. This is not okay. Okay, the original quantity is 30. But somehow this is telling me that this cannot be purchased anymore. So this is really, really good in order to avoid issues with inventory. A lot of people, a lot of customers will be always asking me, I don't want to work with replenishing because it might be really complicated, cumbersome, and I don't want to have more inventory than the one I can even handle. You know, that's very dangerous, costly, and it is going to make you work harder, right? Because you need to accommodate here and there more inventory that you might not even solve. So it's more pressure in the end. So it is not a problem. The replenishing process will follow your instructions no matter what. It's going to prevent if somebody created, in this case, I actually created on purpose, right? I created a purchase order for avocado that in my setups I don't need, okay? Business Central knows how much I'm able to handle in my warehouse, right? Or maybe how much I have been selling. So if somebody said, okay, I want avocado, I created an actual purchase order of avocado for a vendor, and then this is actually canceling it, okay? And for the new as well, we cannot only create purchases, but as well transfer orders, okay? The only difference that we have in this page is that the purchase is going to then be sent to a vendor, and a transfer order is just going to be among warehouses. Plus, transfer order don't have actual cost unless you add a little cost, because you maybe add transportation. Okay, that's another concept. But by definition of inventory, at least you already have the item. You are not going to invest in order to purchase more items. That will be then just an item charge. Okay, not the actual cost of the item in comparison to a purchase order, which is actual cost. Okay, so then some of the setups that we reviewed then last week are very important, once again, important for this type of process. Then you are understanding what we can do. And just to mention it, okay, there are two other documents that we might be connecting. And let me explain you. In Business Central, if you're going to need as well to work with manufacturing or you assembly, let me give you an example. Maybe you're going to use pineapple, strawberry, and pear to make a special fruit salad. Okay, you already know the ingredients, and then you're going to need all these items, right? So basically you will be working in order to have always these items by the quantities and the unit of measure. We look at the vendors, okay, all of them referring to the same vendor, by the way. Look at this, right? And then as well with the vendor item numbers. Very, very good. So if I actually calculate and then carry out the action messages, look at how many items are being ordered for the same vendor. This is the vendor 40,000. What happens here is that you are going to need sometimes to have, by the way, items that are being offered by specific vendors. So you can decide, hey, this item, let me just give you an example. This is the sausages, Diet Coke, whatever, and pineapple, strawberry, pear, and so forth, okay? So I'm going to insert a vendor for the strawberry. Let me just then show this. I'm going to create a new line. The vendor will be wild water importers. And the vendor item number will be the strawberry. Let me just put an acronym or something like that with a lot of zeros. Vendor item number, you decide, okay? And I will be then speaking in this very moment, because I know that I need this item, but you need to start calling different vendors at the same time, because what it does, what I was saying is that it helps you, but it's not going to then do the entire. This is not, there's no artificial intelligence to negotiate with vendors. So I will be calling now this vendor, but as well, if you want, let's call another vendor at the same time while I'm just ordering. I know that I have the necessity or the requirement. So then I'm going to add another vendor. that has another vendor item number. I'm gonna split it right now in Spanish. This is called Fresa, all right? This is, by the way, the name in Spanish, and then of a strawberry. And then another vendor, because I'm speaking immediately, I need to have 1, 2, 3 different vendors that offer to me the same item. And then later you're gonna then have the actual negotiation by knowing the cost, then to insert the one that gives you more benefits in a general way. So you decide. So then as well, we're gonna get just numbers, let's say, for this one. So we have different vendors that will be offering the same item for me. All right, that's is the only concept of, sorry, I inputted the same vendor number at the same time without noticing it. So 3 different vendors, okay? By vendor code, by the way, we have this, look at this. But what type of benefits you need to analyze, okay? Yes, I always need to have the requirement of my company. Do I need to cancel? Do I need to purchase more? Do I need to affect the quantities? You see all the variables. Plus, how many vendors are offering you the item? And not only the cost that I will be checking in a moment, but look at the lead time calculation, okay? That's the second parameter. After you know the quantities that you require and the items that you require in this given warehouse, very good. Hey, let's start negotiating and let's start verifying which vendors are faster or the vendor performance in this matter for the lead time calculation. Let me explain you. In this case, we have 3 different vendors that will be having this item available there for me to be able to purchase from them at any given moment. But some vendors will be offering the item in the next following day, but some of them might be able to then provide the item but 1 week later, right? But let's say if I wait 1 week, it might be even imported, has more cost, insurance, and so forth. But at any given moment, well, maybe this type of vendors are going to save your life. I have been working, before being a consultant, I used to work a lot of time with the supply chain, and I was actually doing replenishment processes for large companies. And I understood that this is really, really, really a very critical part, which I'm showing you. This is not only about quantities, but as well as your lead time calculation. For those of you, believe me, we understand your pain points in this matter. And let's look at this in one single window. After knowing what is the requirement of your user, departments, or the warehouse, right? Basically, we tied in this window all the departments, all the requirements of the company, manufacturing, assembly orders for kitting, for produce, or chop or meat in supermarkets. Then we know that you have then to then concentrate all the requirements, the office supplies and everything in one single place, and this is one. But then after you have different requests from different vendors that you might know that they offer you this item as well, you need to ask them one by one which prices they offer and which discounts they offer for you. So then let's just go add a purchase price, right, for one of the lines that I get, and I can call them immediately. What are you offering me? What will be the direct unit cost for how much you sell then this item? Okay, let's say 0.999, and that's it. Okay, this is the direct unit cost. And if you call them, you can make actually not really agreements, but you can then make notes on the actual price for every vendor. For the same item, multiple vendors, and save that information in Business Central. Now, when it comes a real agreement, even though we do not manage the real contracts here in Business Central, you manage them, you speak with your vendor if you want to manage the real contracts for the following 6 months, then freeze my item, okay? Even though we don't manage those documents here in Business Central, which actually vary country to country, legal requirements, then you work with a specific vendor for any given country, which might be really, really sometimes cumbersome, complex, and takes a lot of time in order to make a real agreement, and you do the contract, etc. But as well here, you get the price, and then you can add the starting and ending date. So that will be the important for me at the end of the system. With this vendor, I'm gonna get just the actual cost. right? The kilograms, but as well, this will be for the following 2 months, okay? Or maybe why not at least 3? That would be better and more realistic. Some vendors, if you start offering agreements like this, they are going to be able to actually lower your price, right? This strong recommendation to make this kind of agreements for the following, to purchase specific quantity, and and Business Central can tell you the quantities that you're going to need on a weekly basis, right? And then with this is going to then help me to add what then we call the purchase prices, okay? This is only for one vendor and only for one item in this case, because we need to do, yes, this is the slowest thing here. We need to add the price item by item in combination with different vendors, right? And some of our customers, look at this, the strawberry is for the kilogram, the cost, and then the time that is being offered by the vendor, okay? There have been some requests of my customers to actually, if there is an online web page where your vendors can update this price for you, so you can then come here and just select the vendor who offers you the best price, okay? And I can tell you that it's not really so realistic, even though it would be wonderful. I always wanted to have this type of tools. It's not really realistic. The vendors normally are not interested to give you in advance their prices, not only to have agreements that they are available. They want to sell actually really, they don't want to sell with the possible cheapest price, simple as. That's why they normally are not interested in fulfilling, forms in internet with all the prices of their items in your website. We have tried in the past, the vendor simply doesn't cooperate, simple as. Given by that experience, then that's why we as purchasers in our head office, we normally do this type of operation. And there is not only the option to create purchase prices, but as well purchase line discounts. You might be discussing with this vendor, in this case is a 1,000, to offer the strawberry as well, okay? And how then would we input basic discounts, okay? Before ordering, let's order or input then that if I purchase, let's say 10 kilograms, okay? This might cost then just $9, okay? Starting and ending date, you select that one. Item number, if I then as well purchase more than 20 kilograms, in this case, look at the unit of measure, then I might receive the cost 8.88. So you can speak with your vendor, okay, in this very moment to add then discounts and special prices. They are not the same, basically. A discount is that you had an original price that will be shown in the invoice, but then later you're gonna then decrease the value according to the possible discount that you have here. And we then gonna keep track of the original price minus the discount that is being offered, right? That will be then the main idea. So all these options are part of our regular process. And the idea is that we need to do everything in one single place. And this will be, guess what? Then creating a lot of configurations for us behind the scene. Let me explain. First of all, I have configured, because Business Central told me that I need strawberry, 3 different vendors that I can offer me this at the same time without me having to travel to any other place. Perfect. I have then set up the prices and the discounts. And just by looking that I'm gonna need 10 kilograms for any specific date. Okay, so what happened next? Even if actually I process and carry out my action messages, okay, I will print now my order. Okay, look at this. Oh, this is asking me for a specific vendor that I haven't completed. And the validation is because in order to actually order my items, okay, I'm going to need then from the selection, you have made a list of different possibilities for different vendors. These are vendor codes, okay? So you're gonna need to call and input this information. And in the end, after making your notes, right, you're just gonna need to click OK to select the actual best vendor here. And that's not actually selected by Business Central. You're gonna need to decide, okay, it's going to be a good cost with the lead time, they're going to deliver on time. And look at this, I have for another option. Okay, I know that for this is light bottle of Corona, I think, right? And I have two vendors, okay? One of them will give me my items in 1 week and the other in 1 day. It's not a problem. You can even check the purchase prices and discounts, okay? For now, I'm gonna go with the urgent because I need this beer even tomorrow. Local purchases, basically, okay? And then this is how then we're gonna be able to, with just this, carry out actual message. Don't forget this function of the requisition worksheet, where you are going to be able to immediately create from these basic setups a full set of different purchase orders. And guess what? Now my page is, by the way, empty, okay? Meaning that the items that were requested were already sent to real purchase orders. And this is how the replenishing process works again, okay? And if I just go back in order to check the purchase orders, then I'm going to be able to see, for instance, multiple items that were requested, of course, but in this case, this is going to go for one vendor, okay, Wild World Importers. The idea of why am I getting a lot of items for one single vendor, maybe even without noticing it, okay, I'm gonna get basically beverages and fruits here from this vendor, is that here is already this information, predefined cost was already here. If not, you can still, and you should then negotiate with your vendor in this very moment, okay? It's not necessary to have this now because it's at some point, if I send this to the vendor, then I'm gonna get the real cost in my actual invoice, okay? So we can update the real cost later. For me, it's not a problem at this moment. I really need the quantities because I really need to request this. But anyway, if you want to at least have some marks of, you know, what would be then the actual a cost, at least for these items, okay? You can even input this here. But anyway, when we receive the actual invoice, it is where we're gonna get the final definitive real cost for this purchase. So it's basically quite easy to use the requisition worksheet. Then we're gonna get the difference. And as long as we continue doing this type of job with these tools then as well, then for, let me see if, okay, as long as we continue creating your purchase orders and get more practice, you're gonna get used to these functions. So you can then make more reviews. And then what happened that is going to happen behind the scene is that for all the vendors that we create and all the items, we are going to be creating behind the scene a relationship because let me show you my vendor card. The vendor card for item 1000, for vendor card 10,000, which is Fabricam. Okay, I have just the general vendor information. We are going to be uploading for every implementation your vendors here with the contact, the picture, home pages, right? Look at all the general information. Very good. Okay, so you're gonna get basically your vendors uploaded in order to make them functional, but as well, your vendors can get different prices and discounts as we saw them in the requisition worksheet. So then from here, I can see the available prices that for different items that this vendor is actually offering to me. Either if I speak to them there directly and start inputting information in the vendor card, or while we are doing the replenishing process like we did, you're gonna have all the available items with prices, right, from this vendor, and this is what we call the vendor item catalog, including the prices, okay? So if I want it, I can speak with him. Hey, I have been working with you. I already review, and I look at this. I have 2 lines with predefined price, okay? And then a specific dates even for some of my agreements, okay? So if you continue to have this, Business Central is going to gather for you, you have been purchased with this vendor, these items for this price and so forth, okay? So if that's good to you, that's fine. You can repurchase and verify and have the benchmarks of the prices of the last a purchase you did, okay, for all the items with the vendors, with this vendor, but as well, if that's functional for you, call this vendor once again and tell him, hey, which items you have to offer, because I have been purchasing at least these 2 items. And if you want, you can continue inputting more information here, okay, about the prices or agreements that you have with this vendor to continue putting more items, right, so to speak. As well, I'm going to add another item manually. I can speak now with the vendor and tell, I want more this other item, okay, and please just help me giving me the prices that you offer. If I purchase, you maybe not in June, but I want to purchase a lot in August, okay, in August, why not in the future? Sometimes that happens, okay? It depends what type of purchases that you do. When you purchase a lot in the future, it's maybe because you are a super big company, that's it. If not, you might be purchasing on a weekly, at most monthly basis. And then the idea is that we got then the information about what we have done with our vendors regarding the prices we have been then purchasing and the information that is behind those purchases and line discounts as well. Like I told you before, if your vendor offers you discounts, then it will be by percentage. So we get a discount for any given reason. You decide minimum quantity, that's optional if you want it. And by the way, I forgot to mention that we have more because there will be for any given discount or special price, then some specific fields that are important, right? It's just basic. Business Central is not the most advanced ERP regarding the discounts or anything. It's just like a very simple discount. This item, which is a strawberry, okay, in kilograms. If I purchase at least 10, I'm gonna get a 9% discount. Very good. But as well, you can use any given currency, so to speak. If you are purchasing from abroad, you can even verify with a vendor, oh, I'm going to pay you in euros, Canadian dollar, or even where I live in Mexico, Mexican peso. So if you then decide to purchase by currency, this can understand if I purchase to this vendor and I pay in Mexican pesos or any other given currency, then I'm going to get a special discount. Okay. It depends on the vendor. That's not really the most common type of discount, but it actually exists. So we just give the option, and then we have the variant code, because for this item, look at this is in Spanish, but what happened with the variant code? Our inventory for, let me see this item. Sorry, I provided actually a demo in Spanish, but the item number is actually then important to say, okay, you might have specific items that might be with, let's talk about the sprinkles or Coca-Cola, very common item. There are variants of the same Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola Zero, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola Diet, Coca-Cola Classic, Coca-Cola Cherry, and so on and so forth, right? And so on, so on, so on. So then that's why we get the variant code. And for these given items, actually, the variant code is not only referring to style, like in the Coca-Cola example, but in this case, I'm presenting colors that are written in Spanish. Blanco means white, as well, black, it means negro, right? And so forth, okay? So variant are actually just, like it says, just variation of any given item. Is just the same item, but it has this special feature of different style, different color, not different size. That's unit of measure. Okay, but the variant code is going to give you some specific characteristic that differentiate this item and why is it included here in the discounts and as well in the price list that I show you for agreements. Because sometimes by variant code, let me give another example. Pringles, they are potato, they are just chips, all right? It's a can. Look at it. This Pringles example has onion flavor, if I'm not mistaken, the classic, right? What else? And there's a green, I believe, cheddar. Okay, different flavors for chips. Okay, but believe it or not, some items by variant type might have a small different price change. Okay, that's then as well part of what we need to review. So that's why I was speaking about that. You need to know the product. Okay, basically. Now coming back. I'm almost done with this webinar. The idea is that in Business Central, you get all the functions to specify the quantities required for any given company. You have now a tool that is going to review the entire universe of the demand and requirements in your company that we call Requisition Worksheet. When you work with that page, helps you to create purchase orders, but as well to then if you have a requirement and if you don't have an actual vendor to purchase this item from, then you have then the option to input that information on the fly, start calling different vendors, request the prices, and look for the best option for you on the fly while you are actually replenishing. And then that will be your actual focus, okay, to take decisions, to work with the negotiations with the vendors, and not working on separated purchase by purchase document, right? So everything at once in one single place. That then will be then filling up information for your agreements by vendor card and creating your purchase orders for you without you having to actually wasting more time doing purchase by purchase, okay? So that's everything about the requisition process, at least from the perspective of the requisition worksheet, where I can see that once again what needs to be purchased and what needs to be transferred, what to cancel. Remember that this is very, very useful for me, so I don't have to come back to the purchase, delete it, change it manually, but in one single place get everything, and in one single page I'm going to be making my corrections. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any given doubt, please let me know. If you want, or if you have specific requirements for replenishing, we can help you with giving a full training of the entire functionality so you can start using it and implement it. Is not a problem. Okay, we can help you with that to make it easier, but it depends, of course, of the type of products that then you have, you know. And then, well, we can then just work with this replenishment process. If you want it as well, I always recommend let's have at least 6 months of historical data to make it better so we can take better decisions, right? So that will be it. That will be it for today. I don't see for now any given question. Hopefully this was clear enough. Okay, this replenishment process is always complex. We need to practice and suffer, but okay, this is just the insights, the basics, so you can see the components and then the scope of what Business Central can be do, how it helps. And then thank you very much once again. Like another week, our webinars are very, very interesting, giving us ideas of how everything is working, not only by checking the buttons and menus, but what is the logic behind everything, right? So thank you very much. Hopefully you have a good week, and then see you as well the next week for another great webinar with the Business Central functionality. Okay, have a nice weekend and see you next time.